On just about any sunny day in Dallas, you will find plenty of tourists wandering about in Dealey Plaza. The sixth-floor museum draws visitors from all over the world to learn about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. But what happened on that day was only one of the ugly legacies of the downtown West End. To find out more, you need to keep walking past the grassy knoll and venture under the overpass that borders the west side of the downtown area.
Then you come to this place, which today seems like not much more than a quiet meadow in a bustling city.
This is where we have to insert a little update, y'all. If you visit the park today, it's not so empty anymore. In fact, it's changed a bit during the filming of this episode. You'll want to stick around to the end of the video for this one.
A lot of people don't realize that before the Civil War, Dallas was a real small town. Probably had 700 people or less, and 100 of those people would have been enslaved. Didn't even become a city until 1856. It was so small. What we know now as Dallas proper was usually a bunch of little small communities, some farms, but Dallas itself was a really small place. Now they had a mixture of people. There were Swiss people, Belgian people, French people, German people, all types of people. And being in a small area and with those people, word traveled fast.
One day in that growing community would change the shape of Dallas for decades to come. In July of 1860, temperatures in North Texas soared. On the 8th day of the month in particular, reports suggest the heat got up to 110 degrees.
Then there was a fire.
And in the Texas heat, the flames spread quickly through structures primarily made of wood at the time. Dallas residents tried to extinguish the flames, but it was a daunting task. Before all was said and done, the inferno had engulfed the downtown area. The resulting damage was immense, especially when considering that very few of the properties affected were insured. And of course, everyone wanted to know what caused such a fire to happen in the first place. Many today now point to the storage of phosphorus prairie matches, which can be volatile under severe heat. However, a twist in the story complicated the perspective of these early Dallas sites. It was later discovered there had been other fires in North Texas communities like Denton and Pilot Point, which occurred on the exact same day.
Finding out that all these fires happened at the same time was just the spark that the people of Dallas needed to set off a power keg that had been brewing for a long time. The year before, they had ran a couple of Methodist ministers who were abolitionists out of town. And back in those days, Dallas, the small area, they weren't about abolition, even though the rest of the country was coming around to the fact that slavery was about to end. Well, after the fires, the editor of the Dallas Herald newspaper, he began to write letters to the editors, to all the surrounding communities' newspapers, as well as he approached the politicians in Austin. He told them that as a result of some interrogation, they had found out that certain Negroes planned an insurrection, and out of vengeance, they were going to be killing white people. That was the beginning of Texas troubles.
As a result of this suspicion, 3 suspects were identified by the white community as potential perpetrators of an act of coordinated arson, followed by an investigation by the so-called Committee of Vigilance. This investigation included torture and threats. 3 slaves, Patrick Jennings, Sam Smith, and a man who simply went by the name of Cato, were identified as culprits. Then, a mob seized the men and ended their lives, hanging them from gallows here along the banks of the Trinity River.
We now know there's virtually no chance the suspects were guilty of the charges leveled against them. But this is what can happen when paranoia and anger meet a thirst for revenge, and a disenfranchised people make a convenient target.
Recognizing the significance of this location, the city of Dallas renamed it Martyrs Park 131 years later. And then, as this video was being produced, the city installed a landmark sculpture on the grounds.
I wish that Dr. George Keaton Jr. could be with us today. So many of us here today were touched by his work. As most of you well know, Dr. Keaton was a community leader and historian who founded the organization Remember Black Dallas. We lost him in 2022, and I dearly wish that he could have seen the project built. We took our primary inspiration from the words of Dr. Keaton, that this memorial, in his words, will be a reverent reminder that lynchings happen on the ground we walk on every day. Hence, the memorial evokes a sundial. Instead of marking hours of the day, it marks the dates of each victim of racially motivated violence and hangings from the time of slavery to the Jim Crow era in Dallas. Where the longest shadow of these dates falls on the memorial wall is where the names are located, as if the shadow itself cut into the steel, indelibly etching the memory of each victim forever in the heart of the city.
Martyrs Park doesn't get the number of visitors that Dealey Plaza receives just right up the street, but it serves as a place of reflection.
It is a very unpleasant chapter in the history of Dallas, but one we cannot afford to forget. That is why, for Black Dallas, this is hallowed ground.